everybody. Welcome to another episode here on the Digital Trade Show Dental Podcast, live in Vegas at Christine Taxon's Dental and Medical Insurance Extravaganza. Very excited to be with you, and very excited for our next guest, Dr. Ryan Huntgate, who is the co-founder.
That's right. Yep, you got it.
Co-founder of Simplifeye. So really excited for you guys to hear more about Dr. Ryan, as well as the amazing things that he's doing with his company. So welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about you. Talk a little bit about your story. Very excited to get into Simplifeye, but love to know the background. And I'm sure people would love to know, being a doctor, and I think you said you're an orthodontist.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So spent a lot of time in school to hone your craft.
Way
and
too
all
much
that.
time in school.
And now here you are with the company. So
Yeah.
exciting stuff. But yeah, share a little bit about your story.
Yeah, thanks. And I actually still practice 2 days a month.
Okay.
So, of course,
All
a practicing orthodontist,
That's
right? No, so it all started back in 2015. But prior to all of that, went through the whole dental school thing. Did Indiana Dental, USC for my ortho. I kind of have a weird background as well. I actually worked for Apple prior to all of that.
All right.
Designed what you now experience as the Apple retail workflow. So
Okay.
it was a great time to be at Apple. It was 2007. So the iPhone had just come out. Kind of dates me, I guess. But basically got there and we had a weird problem that we had too many people in the store. Which is a weird problem to have, right? It's not really a problem. So I had the crazy idea of kicking people out after they spend the money. Right. So we didn't have iPhones or iPads at the time, so we would triage people as they would walk in, route them with walkie-talkies and pieces of paper, like a limo sign of sorts, and then we would literally walk them to the front with a receipt, and they would hit a certain threshold and walk themselves out. Well, it turns out it started to work. So I got to deploy that with all 300 stores worldwide and got to experience all of that. The interesting part is I'm originally from Indiana, and really wanted to take this newfound workflow thought process, efficiencies, and technology and apply it to somewhere somewhat archaic. Mm-hmm. So I chose dental, right? Because it can use it. Yeah. And got to dental school and realized really quickly we had really cool gadgets like 3D scanners and lasers that cut teeth, but there was still not a single piece of really dental software that I could apply and help me with my business. And that made no sense to me because we're spending like 30 grand on these scanners, and obviously they're creating a return on investment for us, but there was nothing with software that I could do the same, and it was really frustrating. Right. So I started to create these little growth hack solutions at Indiana Dental, and started to make a big difference in the flow of things. Got to USC, realized it was the exact same problem. So that was kind of a light bulb moment that both places had the exact same problem. So did the exact same thing at USC, and that's where Simplifeye kind of started in its early stages. Finally got to, graduated after that good old 11 years of school, right? And when I was practicing in Manhattan Beach, California, and started to apply the exact same little pieces of software to my practice, and then my friends, not only my dental friends, but also my medical and some of my vet friends were also asking about it, and that was the light bulb moment. So basically called up my cousin, who's now my co-founder at Simplifeye, and said, hey, I think I have this thing that's going to completely change how doctors practice dentistry and medicine, but sadly they don't still teach a single business class in medical or dental school, right? So I have no clue how to raise money, no clue how to actually scale this thing. So I said, you do the business side. I'm going to take the dental clinical strategic side, and we're going to knock this out of the park. So we ended up applying and getting into the top accelerator in the world. It was out in Angel Pad. It was in New York City, so that's what brought us to New York. That's where we're headquartered now. And the rest has kind of been a dream, and we've just been growing like crazy ever since. And especially ever since we released our product called Amplify in January.
Yeah, and I know we were talking before the podcast. Share with everybody how many practices were signed up on Amplify in January.
One. So
okay.
yeah, it was funny. We actually starting like December 17th, I'll never forget it. We built Amplify, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to use one of my buddies, Dr. Mark Stojkovic. He's up in northwest Indiana. You gotta go see him. It's in a little town called Munster, Indiana. He was the first person to use it, and it started to knock it out of the park for him. We were getting him 10 patients a month, and I'm like, okay, this is a thing. And then after that, now we've grown since January. We now have over 1,800 people using the product, which has been a good time.
Now, 1,800 in the same year.
1,800, in the same year. You've got it. It's just been growing like a weed. So
I love it. So I think, Ryan, people are always curious, as you know, as I'm sure you've been on this journey, how companies go from one to that growth so quickly.
Yeah.
Do you feel like what you have helped practices with was just pent-up demand? There was obviously, I mean, you proved it out, or you wouldn't have gone down this path and raised the money and all that, and what have you. But what have you learned really just in the last 6 months to what's really fueled this growth in dentistry, especially with your background?
Yeah, well, the truth is that over the last 10 years, doctors have been kind of beat over the head and told how to advertise and how to market and to utilize social media. And guess what? They do it well now.
Sure.
The interesting part is that this was kind of the revelation we had. They are terrible at converting.
Right.
Terrible, right? So it's everything. That last moment is 100% of what you need to achieve at the end. Otherwise, you're getting 1,000 people to 1 foot from the finish line,
Right.
and you're not getting a single one to step over the finish line. Or maybe every so often you get lucky,
Right.
and somebody steps over, and that's that phone call that you get from your website. But really, it's not doing much for you otherwise.
Right.
So what's happening, and we always use this phrase, you've been filling up the keg all along. I just came over with a tap, and now you're able to have a drink.
Right.
Right? So basically, we're starting to do that, and we're sending. I mean, heck, we average 6 to 10 new patients a month for all of our clients, and that's per location that they put on this. Some of the higher end people, we're sending 160 patients a month just for one location. That means that they've been doing all of this marketing, whether it be TV, whether it be just regular social,
Sure.
and they're just so bad at converting. They don't know what to do now.
Right.
We've got people that are opening more locations because of it. It's really cool. It's really fun to see, and it's what I really like is it's handing something back to the medical dental community that they didn't have before. Right? We aren't taught this stuff in dental school.
Right.
We don't know how to do this stuff, and it's okay. We're good at being doctors, and that's what we should be good at. On the business side, like imagine if somebody could actually create a out-of-the-box experience that actually helped you with your business, and that's why Simplifeye is there, and that's what we're going to do.
Absolutely. You know, it's interesting. I've had the opportunity to work with a couple orthodontists in dentistry, and a lot of entrepreneurs, for whatever reason, come out of the ortho side. I don't know, I don't know if it's just because maybe the way that you guys think, it's like a different way to think.
Yeah.
The way that you set up your operatories, or even maybe it's just, and I'm curious on your thoughts, it's that it's ortho is very process driven.
Very much so.
So I would have to think that played into that. Now, talk a little bit about Simplifeye and what exactly, how it works and what, more importantly, that first 10 seconds that I know is crucial.
I like that. Well, yeah, so the whole reason that Simplifeye is created was we found a stat that said that when a person comes to your website, there's a couple things that happen. One, it's the only time they're ever going to be there. 75% of people that come to a website will never come back, right? That's your one moment. So if you screw that moment up, you can basically count them out. The second piece is once they're on that website, you literally have 10 seconds to make an impression on them and convince them that you're the one, right? Please call this phone number in the top right corner, which is basically a prayer. Right? So you have 10 seconds to make that impression on them, and then they're gone forever as well. It's like their hottest moment. They're going to either make an appointment at that point in time, or they're not. And life happens and gets in the way, and then 3 weeks later you might have another chance, but from that first stat, probably it's going to be somebody else.
Right.
So we said, what can we create to actually capture them in that 10-second moment and convert them into a live human being? So we created Simplifeye. Simplifeye is a 24/7 live web chat concierge that we man on behalf of the practice. You fill out a really cool survey, tells us all about your practice. What days am I open? Do you see kids? What makes you cool as a doctor? What insurances do you take? Right? So you answer all of those questions. Now we're basically able to have a conversation as if we're your front desk. The interesting thing is because we're open 24/7 as a live web chat, now when you're closed at 9:30 at night on a Friday, and the mom who finally gets to relax and maybe go online and look for a dentist because she realizes, oh my God, I haven't seen a dentist in 6 years, right? She all of a sudden is so moved to do so, or maybe she's looking for her kids for an appointment for them. Now she can get on there. Not only is she like, well, I kind of like this website, the doctor looks nice, and oh my God, I can actually schedule an appointment. So right then and there, we're able to give them a big warm hug, tell them everything's going to be okay, right? We really be empathetic, and then we convert them. So right then and there, we say, hey, can I make an appointment for you? Yes, we convert them, and you're ready to go.
Right. It's interesting because it seems like for years, people lived in what we call business hours.
Yep.
Because we lived in this brick and mortar world or this society where that was the case. And I think you bring up such a valuable point, which is there's so much, and it's now that all these people are online, there is so much that is done after those business hours.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of times the business is just, not intentionally, but we were so conditioned to think that that's when we needed to have people to support and staff businesses, websites, what have you. So very, very interesting.
It's like they work when I'm working. That is not the case, right?
Right.
I can't tell you how many doctors still don't answer their phones during lunch. When do you think every single person wants to make an appointment?
Right.
During lunch.
Sure.
And you're not having anybody answer those phones?
Right.
And the other thing is like sometimes, the other interesting about Amplify is we start to take a lot of weight off of the front desk. And this is how. When I'm able to schedule that appointment online, I flip that information over to the front desk, right? They now can use their time to follow up on that, right? It's not an interruptive thing. Phone calls are really interruptive, right? If a phone call comes in the middle of a patient conversation at the front desk, you have to make a choice on whether you stop having that conversation and answer the phone, which you're usually not going to do, or just let that phone go. Even the best front desks in the world miss 30% of their phone calls. Why? They're doing their job, right? They're technically doing their job. They're looking up insurance information. They're having conversations. They're in the back saying what the heck is going on, why there are 20 people in the waiting room. And you miss that one phone call, that's a really valuable thing. That phone call is a patient wanting an appointment, right? Or they're wanting to cancel, which is worse because you're going to get a no-show. So all of those things end up stacking on top of each other. And then on top of that, you can even say, hey, now to your existing patients, I have a 24/7 website concierge for you. Now what you can do is you can come to my website. You can call us. We're always available for you, of course. But if you'd like to, go ahead and go on the website and schedule your appointment. You don't need to do that anymore. Now that person that you've already hooked in is not bothering your front desk, and they can rely on more new patients as well.
Yeah. Well, and you think about it, and you've experienced this. I mean, how many of us now, when we go to make a reservation for a restaurant, I mean, I think of the last 3 reservations that I made, I haven't talked to that person.
Open table, right?
You know, absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
You've got it.
So it's one of those situations, and it's exciting stuff.
Yeah,
it's
very exciting
stuff. So talk about the first couple of months when you went from 1 to 3 to 5.
Yep.
And you started to have conversations with the practices, like just talk to me about that.
Yeah.
It's a pretty exciting thing.
Yeah.
You put something out there and you have all this responsibility. You start this company, you move to New York. You're like, holy cow, we raised all this money. We got to make this work. And then people start to use it.
Yeah, it's a really special moment, to say the least, especially when it works on the level that it is. Like, you know, we were kind of going out there that said, okay, cool. So for what we charge for this, even if I get you one patient, it's worth it. You actually make money off of me. If I start to get you like 6 and 7, it gets stupid really, really fast. And let alone some of our people, like I was saying, send a couple hundred a month. So that's just a whole nother level. But when you see it working, that's really special. The hardest thing I've found in business in general is scalability. Getting it to work right. So now we have over 100 people chatting 24/7. It started out and it was just me, right? Which is, those were some sleepless nights to say the least. So in January, it was just me. It would ring like a phone, basically. I'd wake up at 3 a.m. and have a conversation. Not many come in at night like that late, but a ton come in from 6 p.m. to whatever it might be from the West Coast. So in the East Coast is the worst case scenario to answer an appointment from Hawaii, right? That's a bad day. So when that first started, you know, you kind of get to your wit's end after a while. But what's really cool about the technology side, because we're a technology company, right? Not a chat company. The way we think about it is I was able to convert people at roughly a 30 to 35% rate. So when you had a conversation with me, 30 to 35% of the time, I was going to convert you into a live human being walking through the front door. Well, now what's interesting is now we're able to give kind of a thumbs up and a thumbs down to each conversation we have. So the tech, this machine learning and artificial intelligence, actually starts to look at the tonality and the phrases that we have. And we can actually propose those to our live human being chatters. So now we can have more intelligent conversations that we know result in amazing conversions, right? So we've gone from a doctor answering all of our conversations, converting at 30 to 35% of the time, now to front desk human beings, which don't get me wrong, that's pretty good as well, to now they convert 49% of the time. So with a combination, I like to call it artificial intelligence, right? We turn our chatters bionic. All of a sudden, they can have these conversations and do these huge amounts of conversions, and it makes like those forms on your website look like absolute garbage.
Right.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Yeah, and now, like you said, I mean, now kind of where you guys are, what's next?
Yeah, so really,
at least in the next 30 days.
No, that's
sure
great.
There's a lot going
yeah,
on,
so yeah, well, hey, we'll be at ADA down there soon enough. So if anybody's listening, you can see us at the ADA in Hawaii. Of course, you're going to go to that, right? It's a nice little destination. But really, the biggest thing that we're working on is making it easier for your office to run on the business side of things. the ultimate dream is a patient magically shows up from Amplify, has a seat in your front office. Maybe all their insurance has been verified, their co-payments on file. They sit down. You as a doctor can do whatever the heck you need to because you know everything's taken care of on that end. Then the patient walks out and I magically bill them just like an Amazon Go grocery store, right? And then we can help retain them by filling your chairs automatically as well.
Right.
So that's the dream. That's the practice in a box, and it's something that can exist and will exist, I can tell you, by about the middle of next year. And doctors deserve to have that, right? Because doctors need to just do what they're great at. Be a doctor, right? And provide amazing treatment. We'll take care of the other side of the equation and help keep your doors open and keep those patients coming in.
I love it. How can people find out about you and Simplifeye and how they can take advantage of this great service?
Yeah, so basically you can check out all of our stuff on our website. You can also visit us at any of the conferences. We'll be at all the major conferences. Our website is simplifeye.co, spelled kind of a funny way. It's funny, back in the day we actually started on Google Glass, if it tells you anything, so that's where the EYE comes from. I always kid that whenever we get into optometry one day, it's going to make a huge amount of sense.
Exactly.
Right? Until then, it's going to be kind of a mystery. The website is Simplifeye, spelled simplifeye.co, and they can go there. They can learn all about our product and try it out. And what's cool is we're a month-to-month service. I always tell people, we're month-to-month for a reason because we're going to keep bringing a lot of value. If anybody tries to sell you on a year contract, it's probably because they suck. So it's just what it is.
Right, absolutely. Well, and interestingly enough, I love the CO because I think there's a lot of people. You'll appreciate this as a technology guy. I mean, it's been .coms forever, and you hear a lot of people say, "Well, if you can't get a .com," but I think you guys have proven from 1 to 1,800 practices, if you have the right service in this internet world that we live in, it's okay. It's okay to venture out and do that or what have you.
Yeah.
So, but how about this meeting? What's the experience been like? I know you guys had the little technology thing there yesterday, helping out some practices and things like that. What's been kind of the feedback at this meeting?
Well, I love Christine's meeting for a couple reasons. We actually met Christine down in 3D Congress, Cabo Curse thing, and we fell in love right away, of course. But basically, we said, any type of meeting where you're trying to help a doctor with the business aspect of their practice, because like I was saying, it's a struggle, right? Trying to remember and store all of that in your brain, and then on top of that, not just use the doctor, you have to parlay that, you have to put that onto your front desk and trust they're going to do it the exact same way. This is a meeting where I think you can come and figure out the business end of things, right? How to code well, how to deal with insurance, because let's be honest, the insurance companies kind of have us by the throat, you could say. Like, if I don't get that right, I don't get paid, and that doesn't make a lot of sense, right? I did the work. I was appropriate in the way I did it, but just because I coded wrong, you're not going to, give me my money that's somewhat due to me, or that is due to me. So this really helps you out a lot. And this is our type of people, right, that care about the business end of the deal. And I think that more and more doctors are going to start caring about that, because you're starting to get a lot of DSOs, a lot of mid-market practices coming up that do understand business, and they care about it a lot. And you've got even MBAs running dental practices, which is really interesting as well. So I think this is the type of weapon that you need in your arsenal to be able to apply that to your practice, and we're just excited to be a part of that.
Yeah, well, I love it, and I'm sure, like I said, it's been a great couple days, and
Absolutely.
We've been watching from here, and you've had a lot of people over there, which is great. How about a couple fun questions?
Yeah, let's do it.
So if there was a song that best described this journey that you've been on, or a genre of music, what would it be?
Let's see. It's got to be a Huey Lewis song, because I just love that. Let's see here. Let's do Back in Time by Huey Lewis. I like that one a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
I never had Huey Lewis brought to the
There
podcast.
you go.
I love little Huey
Huey
Lewis. All right, so this has been kind of the fun question of the weekend. So TSA, you travel a lot, right? So if you got called up to spend a couple of weeks as a TSA guy, how would you approach the line of people coming through? Would you be the funny guy? Would you be the serious guy? Like, what would be your TSA avatar?
Yeah, I would probably be the guy that the rest of the TSA agents hate, because I would try to apply an actual system that worked. I'd be there trying to snap everybody into gear, being like, hey, you actually do your job. Stop. Like, there's those people that have the conversations.
Yes.
Like, stop having a conversation. Like, let people through security right now. Like, I fly way too much, and I see all different aspects. I'm like, nobody wants to have a talk. It's like when your Uber driver starts asking you about your life. Like, man, just get me to the final destination. I take way too many Ubers for this. So I would probably be that guy. They would probably not like me after a while. but at the same time, be friendly to the customer.
Yes,
of course.
Of course, absolutely. Well, and finally, this entrepreneurial journey, right? If given the opportunity, if you haven't been able to do it already, and speak with some young entrepreneurs based on what you've learned, one or two things you'd share with them as they're getting ready to start out, or they have an idea, or what have you.
I always, a lot of people will ask me, like, when do you know is the right time to kind of take a leap? Because, there was a moment where both, my co-founder, Zach, and I, we had to choose to leave really good jobs, right? Orthodontist always gets ranked #1 job in the U.S. almost year in and year out. It's pretty cush. We don't have, we practice till we're 85 because of that reason. So, like, when is the right time? I always like to say it's when you feel like something's really easy, meaning the solution's very easy. It's very obvious to you. And your friends and family and whoever else, colleagues, look at it like it's magic. Like, they don't understand it whatsoever. That means you probably have a business proposition. The next piece is like the thing that that I found is the toughest thing, right? Getting that first prototype out the door, it's actually pretty easy. You can get something to work once, almost 100% of the time. That's why you see those really cool robots everywhere, and you're like, cool, why aren't they walking around all over the place? Well, it's because that first robot cost $2 million to make, and that's not affordable by anybody. Scalability is the hardest thing in the world. Making it work once is very easy, so focus on scalability. So when you're thinking about that business idea, it might be something that you can apply locally in your practice very easily, but taking it and looking at it and going, cool, is there a way that I can take this and do it in 10,000 places, right? Or even just 2,000, depending on the price of your product, obviously. But can I do it in 10,000 places, and how do I go about doing that? That's the magic behind it, and that's why you don't see everybody doing it, because usually people will get to about like 100, 200 locations, whatever it might be, and the wheels fall off. And we had that moment, right? You had that moment where you're like, oh crap, we have to change things, but you either change it and modify yourself, or you die a miserable death, right?
Slow, miserable death.
slow, miserable death on the way down. So those are the two things that I like to focus on, but the biggest thing is scalability. Really focus on that.
Absolutely, which is interesting, because if I apply that to dentistry, and a lot of those doctors out there that have one practice, kind of in the same parallel, and want to do 2, 3, 4, 10, and what have you, kind of the same thing, right? I mean,
you got to focus on it.
Yeah, and I've spoke with many doctors that get very excited about the opportunity of expanding, and wow, when you have that conversation after they start to go through it, they realize, man, I mean, just to have 3 was difficult.
It was hard.
Because of, like you said, you get comfortable in doing one and what you're good at, and certainly something to think about.
Yeah, look at those technology, and the big recommendation on that is look at those technology solutions that can help you do that, and take that cookie cutter style thing that you want to do and apply that branding somewhere else. Look at the technology solutions that will help you do that, and that takes you a long way as well.
Yeah. Brian, this has been great, man.
Been fantastic.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak with you, and I'm excited to see where you guys take things in the next 12 months.
Sounds good. Thanks so much for the opportunity.
Man. All right, you got it.
Have a good one. Take care.